Finally, you have to make certain changes in behavior. Again, there are simple actions that you can take. It's actions over time that make you rich. Now, here's where positive thinking can be really useful. Positive thinking can help you to motivate and maintain actions. But if you don't know what those actions are, then once again, all the positive thinking in the world won't do you any good. In the Money in Your Mind, we cover those three things. We'll show you how to change your blueprint, how to open up your perceptions, and how to know which actions are the right ones and which ones are the wrong ones, which ones make you rich and which ones have been keeping you poor, so that you can change all those things and walk exactly the same path as pretty much every other self-made millionaire has done before you. Now, a lot of people have said that nothing else has worked for me. Why should I believe that this will? Now, I really sympathize with this question, because once again, I've been there. I've had a high income and still somehow ended up broke at the end of each month. I've been through the books and the courses, and even though much of what I heard made sense, somehow nothing seemed to change. And the reason was that I was missing a part of the formula, a part, by the way, that is included in the Money in Your Mind system. Here's how it works. Wealth is a triangle. There are three key components that you need to have. One is the conscious inner learnings. This is your ability to understand what's going on, to plan, to strategize for it, and to just be able to perceive the opportunities as they arise. Number two, you need to have unconscious inner learnings. Your unconscious mind has to be able to accept all these ideas, to allow you to be rich, to allow you to perceive the opportunities, and to realize how many times you've thrown away a diamond in the rough. Because once you recognize what a diamond in the rough looks like, well, you'll have a diamond mine. The third stage is to engage in the right actions. You have to know what to do and how to do it. All three of these things are covered in the Money in Your Mind program. We show you the biggest mistakes people make that keep them poor. We show you the mistakes they make in their behavior, the mistakes they make in terms of their understanding about money, which lets them behave this way, and the mistakes that their unconscious mind has made that has kept them in a poverty blueprint. What's more, we'll also show you how to break the chain that holds you back. We'll show you how to change the way you think, change the way you feel, and change the way you behave in a very simple, effective, and, believe it or not, fun way. Now this leads us to the next question. Some people have said, fine, I really believe this will work for some people, but does it work for ordinary people like me? Once again, it's exactly the same answer to the question before. Yes, it will, if you change the way you think, and you can change the way you feel, you change your inner blueprint, and you can engage in certain behaviors over time. That's it. Wealth is virtually guaranteed to result. Now the problem is, most people think that you need some kind of special talent, skills, smarts, income, family, background, connections, and all that sort of stuff in order to be rich, and you do not. There are plenty of examples of very wealthy people who have no special talent at all, except that they recognize opportunities and they are relentless in their path of action. So back to the question, will it work for ordinary people like me? Absolutely it will. Once you can see what the real wealth matrix looks like, and once you know what the actions and behaviors are, well then, all that's required is to continue to do those things over time, and whether it's slowly or quickly, you will become financially free and wealthy. Now that of course takes me to the related question, don't you have to be really smart to get rich? Well, the answer again is no. In fact, most of the really smart people that I know aren't rich. And here's the reason why. If you have a misperception, in other words, if you think money works in one way, but it actually works another, then all the smartness in the world is just going to dig you into the poorhouse more quickly. Let me give you an example from medical history. Not so long ago, the medical profession was filled with more quackery than actual science. Now, here's the thing. At the time, people had certain ideas about what health was, about the blood being too hot, or the gallbladder having too much gall. And by having these strange internal liquids all mixed up, it would create health or disease depending on what imbalance was being caused by these assumed inner forces. Now, based on these principles, they came up with remedies that seemed ingenious, but were actually harmful for the body. Why did this happen? Because they were very smart, and they were taking the wrong principle and applying it with absolute logic to its absolute best conclusion. The trouble is, they based it on something that was incorrect, and as a result, they often did as much harm as they did good to their patients. So these doctors did more harm than good, because whilst they were clever about the wrong thing. So being clever, being smart, is not a prerequisite to getting rich. What makes you rich is having the right understandings. And by the way, they're so easy, a 5-year-old can understand it. What makes you rich is having the right inner blueprint that allows you to be rich. And what it requires is behaviors, simple actions. So, if you have any concerns about whether you're smart enough to be rich, here's a very simple test for you. Can you read and can you write? Being able to read and write is a more difficult task. It challenges your perception more. It's more difficult for your hand to be able to form those letters and so on. So if you could learn to read and write, then you can learn to be rich. Because once you know how to do it, becoming wealthy is actually easier than learning to read or write. Now, some people start getting concerned because they don't understand the stock market. And they say things like, how can I ever get rich if I don't understand the stock market? And the answer is very simple. You never have to invest a penny in the stock market, and you can still become amazingly wealthy and financially free. Consider it this way. The stock market, as we now know it, is not even 200 years old. And for thousands of years before that, there have been wealthy people in every nation, every country, every continent, and in every race. You do not need the stock market in order to get wealthy. Can you get wealthy through investing in the stock market? Absolutely. Time has proven that over and over again. Is that the only way to get wealthy? Absolutely not at all. In fact, off the top of my head, I can think of at least 2 other areas which will make you just as much money, in fact, can make you more money than investing in the stock exchange. So if you don't understand the stock market, I congratulate you. By not investing in the stock market, you've avoided one of the pitfalls that makes people poor. I'll show you how to find the places where you can make your money on the Money in Your Mind program. Now there's one final important question for today's video. How is this whole process different than all the other stuff out there? Well, once again, let's come back to the idea of the wealth triangle. Most courses out there aren't wrong. They cover one aspect of the wealth triangle or another. Some will focus on the inner work, the permissions, the blueprint to allow a person to feel the deservedness to being wealthy, or to diminish the resistance the unconscious mind has. Other courses, particularly the more academic ones, will look at the mechanics of getting rich. Here are the actions you have to take. Here are the things you must understand. Other courses still look at the mindset that drives all these things, the conscious insights, learnings, and understandings. Now, all these 3 areas are important. If you did an MBA, if you learned economics, would that harm your abilities to become rich? Heck no. But do you need it? No. You see, the truths that make you wealthy are very simple principles, something that a 5-year-old child can understand. And as long as you have all 3 areas covered, that is to say, your conscious mind has the insights and understanding that it needs. Your unconscious mind has a change in the blueprints that supports it. And together, you know the behaviors you have to engage in, the action that you must take in order to become wealthy. Well then, it's only a question of time. This is what makes the Money in Your Mind program different from every other course out there, because we cover all three areas. We have exercises that'll help your unconscious mind accept the changes. We have insights and understandings, long and important discussions that'll help your conscious mind see the bigger picture and suddenly realize where everyone else has gone so wrong. And included in the whole program are some very simple systems and mechanics that you can put into action literally the minute you see them, so that literally within moments of coming across the information, you're already behaving like a rich person. If you think like a rich person, if you behave the way a rich person does, and you have the unconscious support that rich people do, then it's only a question of time before you too are rich. Now, this video has covered the major questions that we've received, but please do keep sending in your questions as they come up. I'd like you to know that we really appreciate your questions because they help us to serve you better. And I promise you, we'll do our best to answer those questions in either a future video or an email. So, that about covers everything for today, folks. I'd like to thank you for taking the time out to watch this video. And I also want to thank all of you that sent in your questions so that we could all learn from them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to bringing you more things like this in the future. Until then, have a great day.